Hello, I'm Chris Williams from Read Comics They're Bad For You, the name of my YouTube channel. Or if you're watching this on BitChute, the name of my BitChute channel is Comic Freak. Today we're going to be talking about how George Lucas saving Star Wars test screens were a disaster. Bob Eiger told Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams to reshoot The Rise of Skywalker after a test screening he was at of the movie ended with the audience laughing at the flick. And when the both of them re-edited the movie and it still didn't come out right, Bob Iger called in George Lucas to help. But we'll learn more about it as we get into this article. New rumors have hit the net offering that George Lucas has been called to save Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker following test screenings that are claimed to have been a complete disaster. The Star Wars rumors come from the same YouTuber, namely Doomcock, responsible for that rumor offering Disney is losing confidence in Brie Larson and Captain Marvel. This whole debacle has proved that Kathleen Kennedy isn't fit to run Lucasfilm, and what Doomcock has said about her is completely true. She's an inept ideologue who's more concerned with putting agenda politics into Star Wars than she is with making good movies. You should all take note, possible big spoilers to follow, so bear that in mind. I'm sure there are some who don't want to hear the rumors, but I most assuredly do, so listen along with me as I tell them to you. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker rumors. It's claimed that 3 cuts of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker exist. A Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams version that absolutely tanked with test screen audiences. A second one featuring mandates from Disney CEO Bob Iger, with the third from George Lucas. It said the Star Wars test screens were made up with a quarter of hardcore fans, a quarter who said they are simply fans, a quarter who are aware of Star Wars but don't buy merchandise or consider themselves big fans, and a quarter of people who are just as likely to see any movie general audiences. And the test audiences laughed their heads off as they saw the end of The Rise of Skywalker, where Rey basically, kicks the Emperor of the Sith to death with her feet, apparently. Okay, Rey probably used her force powers to beat the Emperor, but from what I understand from Victor von Doomcock, apparently it was such a vicious beating that Rey gave to the Emperor it could be considered elderly abuse. This was the Kennedy-Abrams version, and now we'll learn why Bob Iger wanted to recut this movie as soon as possible. Regarding the Kennedy-Abrams version, it's said the first act is said to be pretty good and scored a 65 at the test screen. However, it is all downhill from there. The second act scored a 12 and is said to be really, really bad. The third act scored only a 4, with only the general audience people giving it points. The aggregate score for the Kathleen Kennedy J.J. Abrams cut is said to be a 29, just awful. A huge problem the test screen had was when Rey basically in OP fashion destroys the Emperor, which caused them to burst out in laughter. Iger sat in on one of the last test screens and is said to be PS'd. Rey doesn't win as much as literally stomps a mud hole in the Emperor's A. The thing in his behind. The YouTuber says when this happens, the YouTuber being Doomcock, all the screeners burst into laughter. I imagine it sounded like, ha ha ha. Eiger said to have flipped his lid and immediately ordered a redo. I imagine Bob Iger's anger was comparable to the mighty god Zeus's of Mount Olympus as he threw his almighty thunderbolts down upon the heads of Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams as they pissed and cowered in fear before their master. It's easy to understand why Bob Iger is so angry. He spent $4 billion buying Star Wars from George Lucas only to have these two nitwits destroy the franchise he bought. Now we're going to look at Iger's version, the version he told Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams to make. Disney CEO Bob Iger is said to have ordered a rework of the latter half of the first act and some of the second half. It's claimed that Iger also ordered an Anakin and Luke in the flesh. YouTuber has no idea what that means. They mean Doomcock, of course, because they refuse to use his name for some reason. The Iger test screen for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to have fared better at a 65. If this was in school, 65 would still be a failing grade, And this is how bad this movie is. Not only is Bob Iger getting on his hands and knees and begging George Lucas to come back and save this franchise, but he's also ordering in Anakin and Luke in the flesh, no less, to be in this movie, so this has something for fans to come and see. He must be incredibly desperate that he doesn't go down in history as the guy who destroyed Star Wars. That's what Bob Iger wants right now. Now we're going to look at the George Lucas version, with the Kenny Abrams version and the Eiger version scoring not as high as hoped. George Lucas, who's said to have worked on some early writing on the flick, offers help and incorporates both the Kenny Abrams version and the Eiger version, but during the third act, George Lucas introduces a secret Skywalker. The Lucas version is said to have scored an 88, and that is good to a point. I still want the Star Wars franchise to die, and I want Disney to follow suit as well, because I don't really like any of it, and I hate that Disney bought Star Wars, but it's good to hear that George Lucas is willing to save this movie, even though I basically hate the idea of him doing so. And I really find it kind of insulting that he's willing to work with Bob Iger, the man who basically robbed him blind and, well, told him sweet words that they'll listen to him in future Star Wars movies, but in reality was just stabbing George Lucas in the back. And now we come to some various additional info. While some rumors have claimed that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker underwent a massive redo, the YouTuber, as I say again, Victor Von Doomcock, claims it's about 25% of the 3 different versions that have been redone. Doomcock offers 3 possibilities that may happen. Kennedy gets fired, Iger picks the Lucas version. Kennedy quits, which is unlikely, and Iger picks the Lucas version. The release date pushed back to further fix things, and that's the least likely, Doomcock says. It's further claimed that Disney reportedly spent an additional $300 million after the meltdown, and that the firing of the Game of Thrones creators was a shot in the direction at Kennedy. Rian Johnson is also rumored to have been let go, and that's pretty much been proven now. With Rian Johnson gone, Kathleen Kennedy must be sitting at her desk with her forehead in her hands, sweating buckets and looking for any way out of this mess. Now we come to the secret Skywalker. Regarding the identity of the secret Skywalker, that is unknown. It could be an existing character. Doomclock laughed at the notion it's Rose Tico. My thoughts? Who knows? Maybe it's a new character. A character that will go on to star in new movies, as reportedly Rian Johnson was going to basically reboot the franchise with new stories and characters, but Disney is said to be in no longer favor of that approach, as they don't want to further tick off the hardcore audience. That is far, far too late, and continue to stray away from the core concepts. You already have massively, Disney. There's no way back. You can't save Star Wars anymore. Star Wars is dead. The MCU movies will follow accordingly if you put agenda politics into them, Bob Iger. And the identity of the secret Skywalker? Most likely it's going to be the illegitimate son of Luke Skywalker, who he abandoned on another planet, probably Tatooine. Doomcock has said that Kathleen Kennedy would have no problem with having Luke Skywalker to father a child and then leave it on another planet, basically to further her goals of stating toxic masculinity is bad and that women are awesome and can do no wrong and can't possibly do anything like raise a child to be a psychopath or evil, even though that Darth Vader was raised by his mother and he became the Lord of the Sith. No, that's wrong. Women can only do the good and the right, and men are only capable of evil and vile things because they're men and their masculinity is dangerous and toxic. And that is why we must boycott The Rise of Skywalker, because if this movie is a success, Disney will just go back to the same old and continue to shove their agenda politics down our throats. Now, if you like this video, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube is going around unsubscribing people, so make sure you're still subscribed. If you're watching my videos but you have not subscribed, please subscribe to me. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. Then go over to BitChute and subscribe to my BitChute channel, Comic Freak. Hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, and leave some comments down below. And could you please share this video? Share it on Twitter and share it on Facebook. Share it anywhere you think it would do the most good, because YouTube is not going around promoting their YouTube creators anymore, and it would really help me if you could please share this video. Now listen closely, it's plug-in time. Keep checking back in future videos for more information on my own upcoming independent comic book, Scumdogs. When you see this comic book, it'll be a good one. I am Chris Williams, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video or review.